So today's video might blow your mind a bit because we have here a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, well-known psychiatrist, who's consulting a young man, and in my opinion, he misses sign after sign after sign that there might be high-functioning autism here as a diagnosis. So let's jump right in. So if you're not familiar with Dr. K, he's on the HealthyGamerGG channel. He has over 1 million subscribers. He's primarily advising young adult males, which to me is like the prime demographic for people where you might have a diagnosis of autism. But he does specialize in ADHD, so often his mind just goes straight to ADHD. But let's jump right into the video.
But I'm very expressive.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's start
Like, it
from the
doesn't
beginning.
logically make sense that you randomly lose
So he gives
interest.
a
Like,
little
you seem like a
preview here.
genuinely
Let me
curious
actually
guy. I don't think it's
maximize
randomly
this.
losing interest. I think it feels random to you because you're blind to like certain forces within you. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
What do you go
I'm
by?
just gonna. My name is Param.
Okay. Let me
Parmeshwar.
just make sure. I'm gonna move this out. I just want to make double and triple check. Let me do this. That I don't leak your face, but it helps me to be able to see it.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm just turning on the video camera because otherwise, I don't think I'm that much emotive in my voice.
So the young guy just said it's important for him to turn on the video camera because he's self-conscious that he might not be expressive enough in his voice. And he says, I'm not emotive in my voice. Now, right off the bat, it makes me think, okay, you have somebody here who's self-conscious about social interaction if he's expressive enough. And of course, a symptom of autism is that you often have a monotone voice. You don't, you don't come quite across like you want to come across. A person normally who's talking here in front of a big internet audience might say, I'm always a bit self-conscious how I come across. They won't say, I don't think I emote well with my voice, but let's continue
But I'm
here.
very expressive.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So where do I start from? Okay, let's talk about burnout because that's the thing.
He's struggling with burnout. I can tell by his voice that he's probably smiling some while he's talking, and maybe that throws some professionals off the trail. Because if you see someone who's smiling, who's emoting, then maybe your mind doesn't go to autism immediately. But a lot of people with high-functioning autism, they smile while they talk, they're expressive, and you would never easily guess that it's autism unless you're really done a lot of research and are familiar with how it can express itself.
To really sum things up, I have been dealing with this burnt out state for the past 6-7 years, and I just feel like I'm stuck in a quagmire and I can't quite get out of it.
Sounds rough, man.
I'm just stuck in it.
Again, quagmire, a bit unusual word.
Can you help me understand how you feel or how you felt burnt out for years?
Okay, so a bit of a long story.
Okay.
But this started out when I was, let's just say 13. I was a gifted kid, so, usual things like, oh, if you just do your best, you can do these things and all that crap. Good shit. But I was very much interested in learning new stuff, anything logical. I just love learning, like studying.
Again, how can your mind not gravitate towards autism when you hear a gifted kid, somebody who loves learning, somebody who is attracted to logic, to analyzing? But let's continue.
Physics, chemistry, even learning languages, because I just loved learning stuff. So what I started doing was, as a hobby, I started writing a blog, and I started writing novels as a 13-year-old kid on the internet. I was like, sure, why not? Let's try these things.
One of us.
And slowly I started getting a lot of people following my stuff. That was cool. I was like, oh, I can I can have people read my stuff. That's very amazing. Eventually, I realized, oh, you can make money from this. And at the time, my family was kind of dealing with financial instability because my dad had resigned. So I was like, okay, maybe I can help.
Now, this is a little thing, but to me, that's sort of a, I don't want to say red flag, but it's interesting that he's such an intelligent young man. He's clearly from a very educated household, yet his dad resigned. We don't know why, his job, and they're struggling financially. To me, again, autism runs in families. It's just one tiny piece of a statistical puzzle, but it makes me feel, yeah, if you have highly intelligent parents that still struggle, that's something that a lot of people with autism experience, because they have the mental capability, they have the intelligence, but they can't just succeed in jobs easy because they're missing a lot of the social
Help my
piece.
parents. Started doing it as sort of work, but not really work. The
So as a
funny
young
thing,
teenager, he's forced
around the
here
time when I
into
was
a
16, my
provider role.
blog had pretty much like expanded a lot. I had to hire new people, and I loved doing admin stuff. And I was also writing novels, but that didn't really work out anywhere because I was stuck not knowing if I'm making progress or if I'm not making progress in that aspect of.
I also used to write novels and short stories and even had some success with it in German. And writing novels is something that trains you very well to, even in like some social interactions, in how you use language, in um, uh, trying to express in writing how people feel. It's almost like a crash course for society, for people with autism who might not otherwise, pick up a lot of these things naturally. So it's very interesting that he apparently wrote fiction as well as being very interested in science.
The work. The problem was I have ADHD, and my ADHD slowly got very bad. It's diagnosed, by the way. So it got so bad that I was having problems even holding conversations. And
Yeah, well, it's well known that ADHD or that autism often gets misdiagnosed as ADHD. Um, for many reasons, and there are other videos about that you can look up. But yeah, when he's explaining here how due to his ADHD he's struggling more and more to even hold conversations, it makes me think, okay, was this ADHD misdiagnosed? Maybe autism is behind his struggles.
I was having problems sticking to deadlines. Very, very severe problems. I would delay deadlines maybe 10 to 20 times, and then maybe I'll get things done.
It's so sad that he had all the
And to
deadlines.
backtrack a little bit, I am a person who really loves making promises.
Hmm.
Let me just take a look at my notes because I'm kind of going all over the place.
Yeah, again,
Oh
if
yeah,
you have autism, some
so
of this might
I
sound
was trying
familiar.
to become my ideal self, like a better creator, a better leader for my team, and a better son and a student at the same time. And the thing I was having a very hard trouble. I was just having troubles leading a healthy work, life, and study balance at the time. As I was a kid, I didn't know any better, so I decided to drop out of school because school just wasn't that big of a priority to me. Because in my head, I made an excuse like, I'm going to school to make money. I'm already making money. Why the hell should I go to school? Cool, let's drop out of school. And so the thing is, as my business grew, as I got more and more money, I wasn't receiving any money. My mental health was tanking. I had insomnia. I was coping with a lot of anime and a lot of like YouTube videos. So I was barely surviving somehow. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just take that money to go see a psychiatrist. My parents didn't really like the idea because I come from Indian society, not really a big thing, mental health, you know.
Oh, I know.
And to get to my ideal self, I thought, because I've learned since I was like 4 years old, if you just try your best, you can become that. As a gifted kid, I'm like, oh, maybe if I just try my best, I can get things done on deadlines. Maybe I can be a better leader. Maybe I can even be a better son and not have so many tiffs with my parents. I was like, okay, let's try. The biggest problem.
Yeah, so he said he had here tiffs with his parents. So that situation is just so sad to me that he was forced in a provider role during his teens and hiring people and going from having a blog, doing what he loves, his special interest, to having to deal with a ton of people all the time and then realizing something is wrong and working on himself, trying to analyze himself. How do I become my best self? How can I manage everything? And that's so autistic to me. Of course, it's not just autism or a typical expression of autism where you analyze and you try to fix things, but when it comes to social situations, it's harder. When it comes to yourself being able to manage things that you should manage and then you can't, you hit a wall there. So
As a gifted kid, I'm like, oh, maybe if I just try my best, I can get things done on deadlines. Maybe I can be a better leader. Maybe I can even be a better son and not have so many tiffs with my parents. I was like, okay, let's try. The biggest problem, however, is I don't have that much empathy towards me or other people. Like when I'm just being myself, I have trouble having emotions in the first place.
so to me here at the latest is where one should think, could this be autism? And it's actually likely high functioning autism. I mean, we have so many signs now. We have the social troubles, we have the special interest, we have the gifted kid, and now we have the lack of empathy that he admits to right there plain, which very few people would even do. And he says he has trouble feeling emotions. So yeah, and add to that, his knowledge that he has trouble emoting or coming across the way he wants to. I mean, to me, there's like flag after flag after flag that just screams autism, and it just blows my mind that this Harvard trained psychiatrist is not picking up on it.
But when I'm impersonating someone, my ideal self, I'm impersonating as that someone else. I can very much be in tune with the emotions of other
Yeah,
people.
so that's masking, impersonating somebody else, impersonating that ideal self that we made up in our head, how we should be as autistic people. That's what we do. That's how we fit in. So he's explaining here clearly how he's
And
masking.
myself.
Hmm.
And it's like I was trying my best to be the ideal self at some point just to feel I was happy, just to feel like I was getting somewhere. Because if I was not, I was a lot more matter of fact guy. I was like, oh, I didn't get it done on deadlines. Cool, let's try your best. I wasn't really feeling any shame, anything. But the moment I felt even closer to that ideal self, whatever that may be, I was like, why the hell did I not do my best? So it's like on and off switch of my emotions. And that really led me down a path where I slowly started to get so bad on just admin stuff and everything else. I started self-sabotaging my entire thing and it crashed in like, I'd say 2015, 16. And ever since then,
At 16, I mean, that blows my mind how young he was. But this is the story of my life. Like when I was in my 20s, I knew how I had to act to fit in or how to be successful. And then I failed at it. And then the constant question was, I'm intelligent, I have everything going for me. Why can't I do it? Why do I fail so spectacularly all the time? Everybody else is not having problems. So, and he's going through that in his teens. I mean, wow.
I just kind of feel like I don't want to work again for the longest time until I would say recently, last year when I found your channel. I was like, okay, maybe I can start working on myself and maybe I can, start getting things done because I don't like to be in this place and I still like to learn things and I need money to just be financially stable and independent. The problem is I'm too scared either. I'm too scared, or I try to learn something and then I have this intrusive thought just coming into my head very abruptly. What if you can make money out of this? And I'm like, oh, I just lose all interest. I'm like, nope, not going to do it.
I find that so interesting that he makes it here about money, that he can make plans, but as soon as he thinks, oh, I could make money and get myself out of the money situation, that then he shuts down. And to me, money is responsibility. As soon as you get money, you have to do things. And if you're autistic, you know that can be the source of so much difficulty, because as soon as you have pledged to do something, and he talked about these promises earlier, that's when you are pressured to perform on days when maybe you can't. And that can become the third rail. So, he's talking about burnout. To me, it's almost an autistic PTSD, because burnout to me is like you do something maybe a bit too much, you burn out, you take a break, and then you can do the same thing again. But PTSD is if you did something and it was so traumatizing that then it becomes like a third rail. You can't touch it, you can't go there. And that almost happened to me, and I'm trying to dig myself out of it because in that travel consulting job, I was so continually super uncomfortable and had to deal with so many things that were just completely overwhelming, that when my mind now goes to, oh, maybe you can go back out there, it's like I remember the extreme anxiety, the the crying, the just big pit where I was in, and I just can't go there again. And I feel that young man is going through the same thing.
Or I just completely lose interest because I don't know why.
And it's tough because I do love my job. I love IT. I love
It's a struggle.
a lot of aspects
because
of
I
it,
still
but
like those things. I still want to do them because I started them because I liked them.
as soon as you get money,
Now I'm
you
just not
might have
getting
to
around to
push
doing
yourself
them.
out of
Either
boundaries.
I'm scared, or two, I just don't get around to doing them.
What are you scared of, Barum?
I'm scared of, like I said, like falling into the same pattern of trying again, trying my best, and then failing in such a way it's just, abysmal.
Okay.
Yeah, in addition to the stress,
And
then you beat yourself up and your mental health
sometimes
just
I
goes
have
to a
this
very dark
suffocating
place.
feeling this in my chest anytime I start to do something, even if I know, okay, I might make some money out of this, and I just cannot handle that feeling. I have this physical suffocation. I hyperventilate if I start doing those things.
Help me understand that a little bit. So when you think about when the thought crosses your mind that this could be monetized, what it sounds like it terrifies you, you rebel against it in some.
So if he has like almost a mini meltdown just thinking of monetizing his skills again, you can imagine how what would happen if he was actually forced to do it right now. I mean, he would have an actual meltdown, no matter how it present itself. But I think a lot of autistic people, when they have meltdowns, it's that thing, hyperventilating, just totally losing control.
Some way. Do you have any sense of what's going on there?
I also have diagnosed ODD, so I don't know if that makes any sense. Of ODD.
Sure. So it stands
but
for Oppositional
it's
Defiant Disorder, but why don't you explain what
Yeah.
you understand about it?
basically what I understand about it is I've always been defiant against authoritative people, people who have authority over me, like my parents, my teachers, anyone and all the time. Now, there's a bit of a nuance, like if they are very gentle in the way they nudge me to do something, I might get around to doing it. But
Wow,
a
that's
very fine
I don't
for the
I
most
don't
part.
have that much, but I know that from other people, and a little bit I see that in myself too. Like if somebody has a gentle voice, if they are non-threatening, if it's a positive social interaction, it's so much easier than when you have authority figures that just do this, do that, and are, very commanding, and it feels like difficult social situation. So even that situation where somebody's telling you something, they seem angry with you or demanding, and you can't quite tell what they really feel towards you. And that's a nightmare for autistic people, because we are desperately trying to have positive interactions, and we don't handle negative interactions well, because it's so difficult to interact in a situation that's even slightly negative sometimes.
But
So
I will die on my own hill than do the thing that they're asking me to do. And I would annoy the crap out of them to just not do the thing that they want me to do.
Do you feel like
plus, and I think I talk about that in some other videos, the one thing you to hold on to when you're autistic is you're smart. So very often the one source of self-esteem is that I know what I want to do. Don't tell me what to do. I know what needs to be done. So yeah, I see that. I've seen that a ton in my son, and I've had it at
right now
times.
in this conversation? Can you feel it?
No.
Okay.
I'm being myself, so I'm not really that in tune with my emotions. It's definitely gone better now, but thanks to other people, I'm not going to name any names, but yeah, I'm definitely not as in tune with my emotions when I'm just being myself.
Okay. So, Param, I thought that was fantastic. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Mm, oh yeah. Recently, the reason I start thinking, okay, maybe I want to work is because my childhood friends and my peers and my cousins are all getting jobs, and I'm like, why am I stuck in this place?
Yeah, that was me in my early
Okay.
20s.
Do,
Early
I'm
20s are
not,
so
I'm not
hard when you're high
comparing. I'm
functioning
not comparing
autistic.
myself to them. I'm just being like,
yeah, I get that.
why are they getting to walk on the leveled pavement and I'm being stuck in this quicksand?
He's
Yeah.
he's so
Do you
good
want to
with
work?
metaphors.
Yeah, I want to work because I want money, because I want to be financially independent. And I
Why do you
want to do that
why do you want to be financially independent?
because to this day, I don't have a good relation with my parents. I love them, but at the same time, I hate them. I just have too many, let's say, spats over meaningless things, and we don't see eye to eye on various topics. And I'd rather be alone and be happier than be with them, despite the fact that they're giving me a shelter over my head. I'd just
Well,
rather
he
be with
provided for them
Okay.
apparently a lot.
I'm
So,
seeing that
but yeah,
financial
that
independence
this need to be alone, of course, this desperate need to have space for yourself. It's
is really
uh,
about freedom,
something that
having freedom
everyone
from your
shares to
parents.
some degree, but autistic people
yeah,
in
and then
particular.
extra stuff, but that's probably the crux of it.
Can I think for a second, Param?
Again, the crux of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for a young guy in his 20s, he has a very exact formal language, and I think that to me is a little bit of a telltale sign of high functioning autism too. So the doctor is thinking now. Now
How do
I
you feel about yourself?
Hmm. Okay, I've thought about this a lot, and this is not necessarily related to burnout. It's a lot of other things. Uh, I feel pretty good about myself. I do not used to feel this way, though. I used to have a lot of suicidal ideations back in the days, especially during the time I was going through the collapse of everything. But now I'm like, I've accepted the fact that I'm in the place that I am.
Sure, I
I
get
just
this.
need to move on.
Yeah, and it sounds like
And again, I can so much relate to this, because once you take that external pressure away, once you're not stuck in that situation anymore where you constantly have to socially perform, you suddenly, by comparison, you feel so great about yourself, because suddenly you can see your positive things. You don't feel constantly like a failure, but just with the autism, being able now to at least for the moment, live a life where that is suitable to his thought, his thoughts, his patterns of thinking, his way of thinking, that he feels relief and that he feels good about himself makes complete sense
What
to
keeps
me.
you from moving on is fear of failing.
Yeah, it's either fear or just complete disinterest in the thing.
Help me understand that.
Now, like I said before, if I start something, I would either stop because I fear that I'll fall into the same trap, or I just just lose motivation and interest to do that thing. And it's not because of fear, but just happens.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure why it happens,
Okay.
at least not as of now.
Okay. So I'm going to think for a second, okay? Let me just...
Yeah, so I feel so much for this young guy, because if he knew he had high functioning autism, he could realize
why
that
it's important to you to keep your promises?
he had just extreme burnout
That's a very good question.
from that situation that autistic people just can't be
I think for a
expected to
second.
handle.
Of course.
Okay, I think I know the answer. It's just going to take a little bit longer to explain.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not really that good at, how do I say, stating anything that I state from my mouth. It's probably, to myself, the second best option of communication.
Well,
Because
I don't follow you there.
yeah, I know. The first best option that I used to have as a kid was going out and fighting. That was my main form of communication until, well, eventually everyone was like, oh, don't fight. It's bad for you. You're going to get punished. And I slowly lost all sorts of like communication with other people, and I lost how to form connections with other people. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be alone. I need to learn how to speak. And that's why I learned I learned the fact that everything that I speak has to be important. And if I make promises, which everyone tells, oh, those are important things, you always follow up on them. That's why I think it's sacred to me that if I make a promise, if I state a time, I have to get things done by that time. I have to do.
So I don't want to harp on it too much, but yeah, you can listen to that, and absolutely amazing how this young guy sounds like even before the age of 13 thought it through how he wanted to be and knew he had trouble communicating with others. So he came up with a system where he doesn't communicate a lot, but when he communicates, he wants to make it count. Just absolutely amazing.
That promise.
Because,
Or it's just
autistic
sacrilegious.
people,
It feels like
they go through that and they tend to come up with systems.
Sacrilegious. So here's the question. Is it sacrilegious because... So it's not about expectations of other people and disappointing other people. I'm not hearing that. What I'm hearing is it's like it's an internal standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Barham, what's it? So let me just kind of recap what I've heard so far, okay? I think we're going to learn something. I'm not quite sure how to help you or guide you, but I'm okay with that for now. And I think we're going to have to do maybe just a touch more back and forth. So you were a gifted kid growing up. You started at the age of 13, like a blog, right? For funsies. Like you were excited about the world.
Yeah.
You got interested in stuff. You enjoyed learning.
He had a special interest.
As the blog started growing, you got positive feedback about it. You started making money. You hired a team at the age of 16 to do stuff. And you were on the path to become a somebody, right? Like Barham is he's going to be a somebody. And then you kind of made this calculated move to drop out of school to focus on the blog. But then something, I'm not quite sure what happened. You had this sort of vision of your ideal self. You were kind of crushing it. You were doing well, got diagnosed with ADHD, really struggled to make deadlines. And things started, I just get the sense that things kind of started falling apart.
So I'm sure things started falling apart internally for this young guy before he dropped out of school. The dropping out of school, he rationalized it, but it was one way to cut down on the social responsibilities. He chose, the people that he hired and his business over school, because he just couldn't handle everything.
And as they fell apart, you started to really like get stuck. Suddenly, like this future which you had kind of was like bright, like started to become dim. Furthermore, I'm also guessing that maybe you started to regret like dropping out of school and stuff like that.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. And then I'm sure your
He
parents
doesn't
started
regret it
telling
because he
you-
knew he had to do
they
it.
started regretting you dropping out of school.
Yes.
All right. So it's a
Absolutely.
big nod, right? And then your oppositional defiance like pushed back against that, which is why
Yeah,
you don't
how
regret
can
it.
he not
They
have
regret it.
oppositional defiance to his parents who wanted him to have a business, hire people, support the family, and wanted him to stay in school? So I'm not surprised here.
It's not actually a mistake, right?
Oh, okay, maybe.
I'm asking you.
Now maybe.
Now
I
maybe.
mean, you just pointed something out, and I'm like, logically, I think that makes sense. Internally, I'm like, does it? It does, and it does not
Tell
at the same time.
tell me about that.
Uh, it does because I trust what you say, because I've just seen so many times where people have these mind loops, which you kind of, very simple mind loops, which you just like, oh, you're thinking like this. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Dr. K is so intelligent. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense when you say that to me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a simple mind loop that I never made connections for. My ODD might be the reason why I never regret those things. But at the same time, I don't completely feel that way because I'm like, I
Yeah, so this
kind
level
of
of
comfortable about that feeling
self-analysis
now as in like
is
just it started like 6 months ago.
amazing.
You started 6 months ago?
I started wanting to go to school 6 months ago.
Okay. Well, tell me, why are you scared to try again? Because it doesn't sound like you have regrets.
Okay. No, I don't have regrets. Uh, in fact, okay, you have talked about this thing about, how do I say it in a family-friendly way? We'll see what happens. Attitude. When going into stuff, you will feel resistance, but we'll see what happens. Attitude. I did it, and I failed. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that again for something, and have it fail again.
Okay. So, but you don't regret the failure?
Okay, that's a very tricky thing.
So he's
Now,
really
I
searching in
don't
himself
regret it,
what's
but at
going
the
on
same
with
time,
him,
I
and I think
regretted the fact that
it's he kind of knows he'll fail
when I was
again because
imagining and daydreaming myself to be that ideal self, I'd always regret the fact I'm such a piece of shit. Like, I could not do that. I could not do
he knows he can't do
tasks
it.
with
He can't
any
function socially
control.
like other people. So that is a
Okay, what you
problem
can do,
that he kind of
like,
senses,
you
but
know,
he
deadlines
So
set
hasn't
set
fully
set
rationalized
deadlines.
it.
when you put on a costume of your ideal self, then you can regret it, but you don't actually regret it.
Yeah, when I'm myself, I'm like very. I have a very high IQ externally and very low IQ internally when I'm myself.
Sure. I think we'll get to that in
Yeah.
a second. So, okay, so that's useful to know. So basically no regrets, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just kind of tunnel down there for a second. So here you are, age of 13, you start blogging and you're going to be a somebody.
I was just like,
Excited.
I'll have fun.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And then 16, right? Like you're going to be somebody, money enters the picture. You start to realize like, "Oh my god, like
A lot earlier actually.
okay." So like you start to like
But by 16, everything was like falling apart.
okay.
So he was really
I'm
running
just
his
kinda
business
curious,
probably
what is it
age
like
14,
to be on the
15.
road to success and then have it all fall apart?
I think for a second, I don't quite remember that feeling.
So where Dr. K is failing here, in my opinion, is, first of all, if he had considered autism, then he could tell this young
One thing
man,
that I would do was,
you built a blog on your special
you
interest,
know, renege on
and
it.
then you took on way more responsibility than
I would
you can expect of any person with high functioning autism, especially a very young person, especially somebody with not much life experience. So you took on way too much. So it's completely understandable that you completely burned out.
And it felt like, eventually to a point I was just like, why am I trying? It wasn't in an emotional sense, it was just like a practical sort of thing. Like, why am I trying? It's not working out.
Barham, do you feel like you've squandered a good portion of your life?
For a while I did.
And what happened to that feeling?
It kind of went away somehow.
Okay.
I don't really.
Yeah, so they're searching around here what might be going on with him.
I'm me. I'm here. I still have, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 decades to live. Why should I care about some years that I just...
And it makes sense, he can be happy now. He escaped that pressure, and it's taking him a long time. He doesn't understand what's going on with him.
That conclusion, I suppose.
I think it's a very valid conclusion to come to. So here's what I think could be going on, Barham. I'm not quite sure how to say this, so I'm going to stumble through my words. You let me know what sits well with you and what doesn't.
Okay.
So the first thing is that I think, like you kind of said, you struggle to feel things unless you're kind of pretending. But to me, it just doesn't make sense that someone who has such a bright future that was like really, and it wasn't potential, right? It was happening. Like it was real. Like you were 14 years old or 15 years old and 16 years old and like helping your parents pay the bills. Areva?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like that he's portraying that as a good thing. I really don't like that he doesn't comment on the absurdity of that situation.
So it's like,
yeah, I guess, yeah. In hindsight, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Makes sense.
And then like for you to kind of drop the ball there, bro.
That's a terrible thing. Dr. K, what are you doing here? Like a young autistic guy was pushed to the brink, was put in a situation where he had to support his parents, where he had immense pressure, more than you can even expect of a neurotypical child, but due to special interest in his high intelligence, he was forced into it almost due to circumstances as an autistic child or teen. And you portray that as, oh, you used to be on the upswing as a positive thing, and oh, no, now you can't perform. That's a negative thing. That's just, to me, it's just horrible.
Not necessarily, because in the end, that money never really came to me. I was like just paying my parents' bill. I couldn't really do anything that I wanted to do. Granted, I pretty much had nothing else to do, but I'd still have liked to have some money.
So when you devalue your success like that, because that's what you're doing there, right? You're devaluing your success. You're like, then money never came to me. What I see, I don't see anyone else holding you back. I see you holding yourself back. And I think since you're kind of blind to emotions, like you're not even aware of like, you're kind of tackling yourself. Like that's what it is, right? You try to get up because you're not actually in quicksand. There isn't an external force.
Yeah. He is in quicksand. He's an autistic person, potentially, in my opinion, in a neurotypical world. So there is quicksand. It'll always be harder for him to walk and make progress compared with his neurotypical peers. So there is an external force, and I have a feeling here Dr. K is trying to push him towards, okay, if you just realize your feelings, if you make them more conscious, then you can pull yourself out of the pit. But I think that's of course, it's a tricky way to think about things when the autism can be a real hindrance at actually feeling or knowing your emotions even in the best of times. So
pinning
Yeah.
yourself. Like you're holding yourself there. You're dragging yourself back anytime you try to move forward. And you kind of talk about fear, but I don't even know if it's fear. I mean, I know you say fear, so that's what we're going to assume. But what I'm noticing is like there's an absence of all kinds of other stuff. Like, I don't know how to say this, bro, but like people who are going where you are going should be full of regret.
After that, I was like, I kind of regretted it, but at the same time, I was like, I'm glad that I got to experience that thing.
Sure. So I think that sounds like
I'm happy with the fact that I got that
okay.
chance.
So that sounds.
and that rings a bell with me so much too. I was like a software consulting. Software consultant working like at the highest level, and I should be regretting now that I haven't worked the last for a long time. But
I've never asked this question before. I have no idea.
I don't. I just realized I can't do it.
So now you're more in touch with your emotions, right?
Yeah.
You're able to feel more. So you were also saying that you're the most in touch with your emotions when you're pretending to be your ideal self.
Okay. Yeah.
Any chance you're pretending to be burnt out?
No. I haven't. Okay. Wait, that was not the question I was expecting. Okay. Am I pretending to be burnt out? Why would I do that?
I have no fucking clue. I'm just wondering.
When
I asked that question,
I almost feel that Dr. K is pushing here to mask again. Be again this perfect self that can feel feelings. Be that perfect self that is not burned out.
But you seem exceptional to me.
I genuinely don't know.
Parents are ever and then tackles you. Right? There's something weird going on inside.
Yeah, ODD and mimic bosses. So yeah, he's definitely focusing a lot on ODD now and trying to hang that young guy's situation on ODD.
You're okay dropping the ball again. The evil shadow that steps out of the mirror is like jacked.
Yeah,
That's totally fine.
Let's go to the summary and conclusion that they have here.
Like, if you survived it once, like, why can't you survive it again? There are all these different emotions, like, and we'll see if it's regret. And that's the tricky thing, is that I don't know. I genuinely don't think that this is like, you're not all like being sneaky and stuff, but there's something about this that a part of you is hiding, a part of you is resisting, a part of you, like, it's you. That's kind of doing this.
The problem is I don't even know what I'm hiding because I think I just laid myself bare.
Yeah, I think it's, I agree. I think it's hard to figure out, but it's a journey, and you've already made significant progress, and I think you just got to keep walking.
Yeah, just, oh, you're hiding part of yourself. Oh, you're just not getting there. It's almost like a little bit of shaming. It doesn't make him feel better about himself.
But that felt so good. I deserve better. It feels so good. Just say to myself.
Wait, I have to jump back now. What felt so good to tell himself?
Oh my God. Again, rearing its head.
Baram, I think you deserve better.
Yeah, so that's when he teared up, and yeah,
Oh my God, it just felt so good to hear that.
Oh, I feel so bad. It's such a... The doctor really didn't help him, but, that is the one thing that's for sure. He deserves better. He deserves better from society. He deserves better from the people around him.
Tearing up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But, the environment fails, especially young people with high-functioning autism, so much.
God. This is not on the stream, right? I'm not...
So I feel the whole conversation really didn't help him that much. But that one thing that he does deserve better,
Dr. K,
it means so much to him.
I never thought I'd be the one crying.
Well, I can't do it without you.
And now I'm almost crying myself. Yeah. Like if you are high functioning autistic out there and you're struggling, just for somebody to tell you you deserve better. You're already doing your best. No, you're not dropping the ball. You're not failing. You're not good enough. You deserve better
I'm just kind of
just based on the way you are.
wanting to cry. I don't know what it is, but I just want to cry. That's very rare for me.
So cry. I think maybe.
And that rings a bell to me too, because he clearly is not getting that a lot from his own parents. And that's another thing that I harp back again and again in my videos. Autism runs in families. So if you're a high-functioning autistic child, you're likely having one or two high-functioning autistic parents that don't see what you need, that might just completely overlook that you need positive reinforcement, that you need what all children need, which is your parents to tell you that they love you and that you're good enough and that you're trying so hard and you're great. And a lot of autistic kids don't get that. It's so sad. And they need it especially because they try so hard.
It's nighttime. I'm literally in India.
Okay, so I don't know if you can open a window.
It's 12 midnight.
Okay. So I'm not sure, but I would say just be with yourself for a little while and don't try to fix it or change it or what next. Just be. Don't even meditate. Just.
I tried. I couldn't really do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't meditate either in my early 20s. I even thought of how people even do that, to sit still and not think. My mind was always in overdrive.
Psychiatry website that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, oh, Dr. K is not taking any patients. I'm like, damn, I have shit luck. And now I got to get on a call with you. I'm like, damn, I really got some help.
Yeah, well, he's feeling better now,
I don't know
but
what this help is, and I don't care. Okay.
Again,
Yep.
you might just. I'm interested what other people think about that conversation, if maybe it jumps out to them as much as it does for me, that this young guy, he just has so many signs of high-functioning autism, and the conversation never goes there. And there are so many areas to explore that if you were to realize you're autistic, like I did way too late in life, wish I had realized it my teens, 20s, 30s, early 40s. It explains so much about yourself, how you interact with the world, how you react to challenges, and how sometimes you just can't do certain things that are expected of you. And that's such a relief. And I hope that, I mean, again, some might criticize that I am here diagnosing somebody whose face I'm not even seeing, but yeah, so much in this conversation rang a bell with me, and I think that's an area that should have been explored at least. But clearly the Dr. K's mind didn't even go there, and so that's what we ended up with. So I hope this was a long video, but I hope it was interesting to you, and it really makes you think about how the society is just even getting started with, understanding high-functioning autism and helping people with high-functioning autism, because really the solution to this young guy's problem, and to the solution for a lot of us people with high-functioning autism, is we just need a society where it's easier to find your place as somebody who can't do all the neurotypical things. And it would be easy to make accommodations and help people with high-functioning autism, but it's such an invisible disability that just the help is not there, the understanding is not there, and people go with poor mental health, poor diagnoses, wrong diagnoses, getting prescribed all kinds of anxiety medications, etc. That doesn't even help, that might even make things worse. And that's where we are right now. And until that changes, we'll have even Harvard-educated psychiatrists just completely dropping the